Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this podcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, January 20th. Inauguration Day, Disclosure Day. Well, not quite yet, but we've got more stuff to talk about. That a UFO, the pilot who was part of it, and getting into a lot of in-depth analysis. I'm sure a lot of our audience and the people in the back will be appreciating it. Should be a fun one, folks. I almost thought about, having a show on Sunday, but if I did that, I figured, well, we'll be back on Monday, and we may have to be back on Tuesday, depending on if we get a declassification coming from President Trump. We'll have to see where it goes. We know he did tell his chief of staff, hey, get on that for me, figure it out. So, yeah, the communication's been given. Whether it's going to happen tomorrow yet, we'll see where it goes. On that note, let's go ahead, take a look out in the chat. Oh, where did I put the chat again? I know it's here somewhere. I can't find the window. I can't find the chat. Oh, there it is right in front of me. Who do we have out there in the chat? Oh, okay. It's a challenge. Fun. It helps the audience get stuff together. On that note, let me get the drums together. And let's welcome in our audience. Let's see who's out there. Remember, the chat is where it's at. Chat is a free service you get as part of subscribing for Disclosure Tonight, which, of course, is free. We encourage you to go ahead and jump in the chat, say something useful, or follow the link to the back end show. We are the only show out there that actually goes ahead and opens our doors every show for our audience to come in and talk about this. That's why this is a fan-funded show. Every dollar that comes in Disclosure Tonight goes back into Disclosure Tonight, and more importantly than that, if you have a good time, you enjoy the show tonight, do us a favor, give us a subscribe. We'd love to have you here as a regular in Disclosure Tonight. If I don't ask, we won't get subscribers. So if you're new and you enjoy the show, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you here as a regular. On that note, let's go ahead and welcome in the audience. Who do we have out there? We have Ann Joanne, $70 Million Man X. A Mark in Time is here along with Adele Hansen. I want to welcome Andrew Core, Anton Ghost, Azriel Aries, BW Broom, Bradley's here, along with Brian Morgan. I see Christine Lynn, Corgi Cast Along Shadows, decided to come back and hang out. Thank you for coming back, my friend. Craig is here, DT, along with Deborah Clear, our Clar. We've got Durs, Donald Harris, along with ESF. Eddie's there, along with Eli McGinnis. Good to see Eli. Live long and prosper. Ernie's here, along with Ian, along with Fernando and Fink and Firefly and Frank Einstein and Frank Rappa. I see Gary and Geraldine and Ghost Rider and Ginger. And green tea with lemon as well as Hemigod. Good to see you, my friend. You must drive a Dodge, I would think. Maybe. We'll find out. Hotfoot Hints is here, along with Jan is one of our mods. He's always here. Thanks for coming out today, Jan. As well as Jared, Jill, John Mooner, and John Pilgrim. And Johnny UFOs. The three Johns are here. How about that? We've got Kane in the audience, along with Cap, Kathy, Caitlin, and Kelly Broad, and those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. I see King Bull, Clapper, Lit is here, joining the show again as usual. Little, along with Liz W, Lyle Thurn. I think you're new, Lyle. Welcome. Also, Martime Unprepared, along with Mark P. I see Megan Betts. Yeah, I keep on thinking, am I the lady from Romper Room welcoming all the little kids in the studio for the day? No, I'm just joking. Sometimes Michelle is here along with Mick. Nothing against our audience, of course, but Mighty Cheops is here along with Mike Slide. We got Mr. Grimlock. Good to see Mr. Grimlock. Mobius 1966 has joined us along with Mr. Joey B. We've got Nancy and Nicholas and Nance are here, and Niles Guy, one of our latest mods. Thanks for coming in, Niles Guy. All right, Omar's here along with Paul Damon. I see Peter Tumulus. Good to see you, Peter. Phil Shepard, Rainstorm Hunter, along with Ram, Raymar, Rebecca, Renan, Roni, good to see you, Roni. Ricardo is here. Good to see you. Also, we've got Roland, Rockmac, Salpaccio. Sam's here, along with Samuel Potts, Sander Jude. We've got Sino, John Rose. Shermanator's here. Mr. Shermanator Osborne. You've been here a long time, Shermanator. We really appreciate you coming out to as many shows as you do. Shinobi One Kenobi just popped in along with Space Coast Flights. Rounding up the end of the alphabet, I've got Splash and Sprightly Sprites, Gemstone Crystal Mineral Magic, who still holds the legend or the record for the longest channel name show so far. Stargazer 46 and 2 is here along with Stephen Forbes. We got Steve Hook, Super Unknown. Zoltan's here along with Tamisha Bertrand. I see Terrence. The Jable Space Odin Warrior Princess Show. Long enough yet, my friend. Tony 3057's here along with Toxic Revenger. As we're getting near the bottom of the list, I see Twin Case Land Cruiser, Two Head 666, Uber Holder, Wesley Sissons, Will Yankee 58, Yell Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. Wait a minute, you're supposed to be at work right now. Oh, you are, but you're off work. Good to see you, Andy. And Zap is here as well. How about that? I made it through the overall audience. On that note, let's go ahead and take a look as far as who we have in the back tonight. Who's on our back panel? Let's go ahead and take a look. Well, the first person's up there. I'm going to go ahead and welcome her in. And this is our remote viewing targeter. Something that's getting very popular these days with people doing psi work, my friend. Laura Campbell, how you doing, my dear friend?
I'm doing great, Thomas. Anxious to see what you have for us on tonight's show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also in the back, we've got Alice W. Welcome, Alice.
Hey, Thomas. Nice to see you.
Nice.
Hey, I didn't hear Trump say that. When did he say it?
I didn't hear that. Some other people had heard it so far, so we'll find out as time goes on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Brown, welcome, my friend, coming from the Southwest.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Thomas. Looking forward to a show tonight. Going to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's go on next to Freezer Man. Welcome, Freezer Man.
Hello, Thomas. Great to see everybody.
Great to see you here as well, my friend. Also, welcoming the regulars, Lord McCormick. Thanks for coming back out, my friend.
Hey, Thomas and guys. It's good to be here. I'm looking forward to a great show. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Oh, sure, sir. Thank you for being here as well. And our next friend is also coming to us from the great country of Canada, where all the province where all the U's are silent. Let's welcome in Michael Sokoloff. How's it going, Michael?
Going good, Thomas. Congratulations on your new president.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Me, the dog, you mean? Oh, our new president. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the dryer running in the background. Our new president, yes. We made it. Go. We made it, my friend. Absolutely. Also in the back, we have our dear friend coming from the great country of Australia. Let's welcome in None of Your Business. How's it going, Susan Ford?
Yeah, really good, Thomas. Thanks. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Yep. Same here, my friend. Same here as well. Also in the back, we've got Tia Marie. Thanks for coming in today, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you, Thomas. I was excited because I wanted to see what you had to say today. So,
absolutely. Thank you much. Also in the back is Sergeant Daniel, USMC. How's it going, Sergeant Daniel? Love to have our military friends here, part of the show.
Outstanding. Thank you. And I did hear Trump today. He ordered Susie. He says, Susie, get on that immediately. So we'll hear something about the drone soon.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear about it, my friend. It's something we've all been looking for a long time. And absolutely. And the last person we've got in the back, someone who's been a long-term friend of Disclosure tonight, but he's been off on some other adventures. Let's welcome in back our dear friend Wes Decker. How's it going, Wes?
Thomas, it's so great to see you. Thank you for letting me come on. And it's been a long time, but like you said, I've been focusing on my family. And so at this recent events and stuff kind of pulled me back out of my shell, and I wanted to come on and say hi and see what's going on.
Yeah, because one of the things that's really interesting, let me turn off this stuff, is back was in 2005 or something. Was it 2005, I think?
2005, yeah.
2005, you actually had taken a picture of a UFO. You were actually, why don't you tell the story to our audience?
Okay, so I will say this up front. I do not remember taking this picture, or these pictures. There were several. But back in 2005, I took about 4 or 5 pictures, but 3 that actually look pretty interesting of an object that I'd forgotten I took. But when I saved it in my photos library, I put a little tag on it that said UFOs ?
Right. Weren't you taking pictures of an incoming storm?
So there was a storm coming in,
Yeah.
so it looks like that may have been what I was doing.
Yeah.
Again, since I can't quite remember, we just have to infer. But what happened was, at some point we were talking about something on the show, and it caused me to go into my photo library, and I just did a search for UFO, and then suddenly I found this. And so we actually, I think I was just, in the message you sent me earlier, it seems like we talked about this like in 2002. And to be honest, since we talked about it, I forgot about it again.
2022, yeah.
Yeah, and so the other night, I was watching the News Nation special with my parents, and they were showing some of the stuff, and then suddenly something that they showed on screen triggered something. I'm like, huh. And so I pulled up my phone and I searched again, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I showed my parents, and and that's one of the pictures that I took. And what's weird to me is that I still have no idea what that is, but it suddenly made a little bit more sense. And I don't know if it's just having the context broadened by having someone talk about an egg-shaped UFO and show some pictures, but anyway, yeah. So
this one actually to me looks more like, I'm sorry I didn't bring you out here, looks more like a traditional saucer shape.
Well, and let me so there's 3 pictures. There's another one that looks more like an egg, and then there's another one that actually even looks like a saucer. So
right,
I don't know what any of that means, but I've been real surprised. I shared it on Twitter just thinking that I would get a few people commenting, and turned out to be a little bit more popular than I anticipated.
the information that really takes this picture and sets it apart from so many other sightings is we're displaying here the EXIF data. So when Wes sent me the picture, I asked you to zip the files up, send them to me, so we could take a look at the EXIF data, because this will basically right here tell you when the last time the file was modified, when it was created, the exposures, all the important stuff that you would get about a camera that helps you take an image that's like this and get beyond the thought of it being a fake, something that is truly anomalous.
Well, and you were the first one to actually help me kind of look into this. And one of the things that turned out to be kind of helpful in this instance as this was back in 2005. So this was before the iPhone. And so I actually took this using a digital SLR camera, which is a big traditional size camera with its own lens. And the file format I took it in was a RAW format, which means the raw sensor data was saved. It's not compressed in any way. And there was one guy on Twitter yesterday who I think his name's like ProPixel, and he was able to take the raw photos and run it through some kind of software he has that was able to kind of confirm the photo. Not that I thought I'd faked it, but it was nice to hear somebody externally validate that the pictures are legit. But I don't know what it is, but it's, I think the whole conversation that's coming up around, Jake Barber and stuff is just, it's really fascinating to me. And, I've got to thank Thomas again for helping me. I think he even sent this to Lou?
Yeah.
So.
What I actually have up right here is just a screen cap of the image. Let me get it here, shrink it down a little bit. That I actually just took a screenshot of, to look at the date and everything. I had sent this to Elizondo on August 8th, 2022, 1:44 p.m. And my description on this at the bottom said, an unexpected object captured in 2005 when taking pictures of an approaching storm. I pretty much nailed it. Now, unfortunately, I never got a response to this message, but I did reach out and I did try and connect it, because when you see something like this, you have to share it and ask questions and see where it can go.
And for anybody out there, if you got ideas about what this might be, I'm all ears, because I'm not claiming that I I know what it was. It just, to be honest, it's baffling. And I'll post a link here for Thomas if you want in the back chat that just shows the other zoomed in versions. But the thing about all of these experiences, and I think I'll tell you guys just a little bit of a woo thing. But if some of you might remember, when I was appearing more regularly on the show, I would often have these weird experiences where I would go out and see stuff, and I couldn't really explain it. And after I stopped coming on the show, that kind of all stopped. So I'm almost curious to see if coming back on the show, if that doesn't trigger something that ends up causing me to have more unusual sightings. I don't know what that would mean, but
yeah, I hear you, West. So yeah, there's the other shot of it that you had, and if I bring up the last one and bring it there, get it and bring it up, this one is even smaller, but you can kind of see some structure or things going on with it. It's just one of those things you look at. It's not a plane. Doesn't look like a balloon. Was there for one frame or whatever it is, and then it was gone in the other pictures you took, right?
Well, so this, when I go back and look at the timestamps, I took pictures. These all took place over the course of about 1 minute. And then there's another picture of one more object almost 9 minutes later in the same spot, but the picture's such poor quality that I can't tell if it's just a piece of debris honestly falling, because the thunderstorm was blowing in at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I don't want to make any kind of claims about it being anything other than just what we see here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I hear you, my friend. And it's great that you'd come in today and we can share this personal information about you, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about some of the stuff when we're covering the situation with Jake Barber, because, we've gotten some answers. We haven't gotten all the answers we would need. We had some things coming to the show where there were some expectations that were set in the previews for the broadcast, where they showed a shot of a helicopter during the daytime, and it was, if I could find it here, scrubbing through it, it shows a helicopter. Here we go. Here we go. That actually goes ahead and shows a helicopter. Document, solo, guess, let's get to this. Where it actually shows, I'll say it again, shows a helicopter that appears to be towing something, but that's not the video that we actually got. Something else that came out the day after or so, that is the actual video itself, was not from Jake Barber. It was sourced from someone else, and from what it sounds like, that additional video, that was the green video that we've seen, came from Dr. Stephen Greer and his people. So a little bit of a crossover of the Greer camp getting into more of the mainstream camp. Michael, you have your hand up?
I was going to say to West, two of those pictures look like it's a pillow. Very much like a pillow.
Yep.
It does look like a pillow, doesn't it?
And I don't suppose Mike Landell was in the area.
No, that was before my pillow. I think that's one of the times when he was a repeat crackhead.
On the Kimball show?
No. I'm saying back in 2005 when this picture was taken, it was well before my pillow was in, and Mike Lindell back in the day came out and said I'm a 5 or 6 time crackhead.
Right.
That's all right though. All right, let's get back to talking about the situation. We got a bunch of information about Jake that's come forward. A lot of questions. We'll get some answers to it. But first thing, I've got a video here coming to us from News Nation with Nick Pope, kind of coming in the direction from where we're at. So let's go ahead and play this video here, and let me get a couple additional pieces at the same time. So let's get to this. Here we go. Test. Oh, don't need to see that one again. Here we go. And I can turn off scan line.
News Nation working to uncover the mystery in our skies, revealing brand new video of an alleged UFO retrieval. Take a look at your screen. Footage that was never before seen until last night's special report, going viral today. A white egg-like object with no visible propulsion system or engine. Whistleblower Jake Barber sitting down with our News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthard, breaking down shocking claims about an alleged UFO crash retrieval program. And for years, people like David Grush and Lou Elizondo have alleged the existence of such a program, but now this decorated Air Force veteran says he knows it's true because he was a part of it. The whistleblower claiming he was contracted as a helicopter pilot to retrieve all kinds of crashed craft. He says some of non-human origin. Those experiences affecting his life to this day, he says. And he is not the only one, with multiple others trained at the elite levels of the U.S. military also coming forward. For more on this, we're welcoming in Nick Pope. He previously served as a UFO investigator for the UK Ministry of Defense. And Nick, it is good to see you again this evening. And you were trained at looking at evidence of UAPs. So let's start with the new video that is now really racking up views tonight. What do you see in it? And what do you make of the egg-shaped object? Is it in line with the other accounts that you've seen?
It's consistent with some, but absolutely, as you say, the story is going viral on social media. Everyone's got an opinion on this, so it seems. As you say, there's no visible means of propulsion here, no wings, no fuselage, no engines. And look, if this is some sort of reconnaissance device, for example, the Pentagon could very quickly put this whole story to bed and say, look, you know, what you're looking at in this footage is X. But so far as I'm aware, they've not said that. So the mystery continues, but we still, you know, the picture only tells us so much. What we really need now is more information. Where was this picked up? Where was it dropped off? Where is it now?
Yeah, and what else do you make of the whistleblower's claims at the center of all of this, Jake Barber? Anything standing out, and what more questions do you have?
Well, clearly the raw emotion that we saw.
We're about halfway through this. Ed, you have your hand up, my friend. Before we pull you in, though, this is hitting home at me as well with regards to there's a lot of information that we should have that just seems kind of missing from the whole thing that's going on. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to comment after we looked at the film last night. I was thinking about this and then reflecting on what Nick just said. We sort of know where it was and where it went. I mean, from Jake's description of where he picked it up, and it was the inside of 20 miles. I think we figured it was 14 miles. So we kind of know all that. Mm-hmm. What I think, though, was missing was his explanation of why or what he thought was inside it or what he thought it was. And there, I think there's a possible deniability of saying, well, maybe it was something they were using to just transport materials from one part of the test range to the other part. We don't know any more about it than that.
No, we don't. And honestly, a saying that's coming from the range and putting it to that location, that could be a code name for something else potentially, Ed. So
well, it could be. The other thing I wanted to mention from last night, we were commenting on, or not last night, 2 nights ago, we were commenting on the fact that they didn't lower this object right onto the truck. Well, realize that's a suspended from 150-foot cord. So if there's any wind or movement in his helicopter at all, it's going to cause that object to be a little bit unstable.
Yeah, but potentially when you'd be bringing down an object, you would have additional lines that would come down and people on the ground crew would go ahead and guide it because, they didn't put it on a truck and they didn't put it in a carton. So how are they going to move that thing around when they get it on the ground?
Well, we kind of hit that too, didn't we, in saying that if it was a compartmentalized operation, the ground crew people probably didn't even see the helicopter. They came in later, possibly, and loaded it. But it would make more sense for stability to go ahead and just put it on the ground and then bring a crane in there to lift it up to where you could be more precise. Because remember, when he finally touched it down on the ground, it rolled over. And we certainly wouldn't want him to have laid it on a truck and have it roll off the truck. So,
well, exactly. Well, if it was going to be going in a truck, it wouldn't go on a flatbed. It would go in some kind of a cradled area that they'd probably put this in. Because you know what? When it's on the ground, they're going to have to move it anyway. And what are they going to pick it up with? Maybe a crane or a forklift?
Yeah.
Just seems that they already have if they already have a helicopter in the sky for moving stuff, because heck, they move around trees and lots of trees up off of mountains all the time without even blinking, picking the stuff up, moving it, dropping it onto the back end of semis. There should be no problem with it.
What they really needed out there would have been, pardon me for saying this, an egg carton, perhaps.
That's why I said they didn't have a truck and they didn't have a carton to drop it in. But yeah, I hear you, my friend. Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, the range is another name for Dugway Proving Ground, I believe. Folks can check me on that. The other thing I found interesting on the video, if he were 150 feet and then he got even lower because there was slack in the line below a helicopter, all that vegetation, there was no movement of any vegetation. There was no movement of any dust or anything like that. And anybody that's been under a chopper would know that how much they really kick up, right? So that was another thing that I had a question about.
Yeah, good questions on that. Yeah, let's go ahead, listen to the rest of Nick Pope talking about it, and then we'll bring up the video and talk about it. They got a lot of great feedback on Saturday, but now we've had some time to go through it and look at it several times, and people have been saying a lot of interesting things about this online as well. Here we go. Let's play this.
Him was visceral, and this sort of reaction is very interesting, and I hope that my understanding is that this is now with the Senate Intelligence Committee. I don't know whether he has formally testified to them behind closed doors or just had informal discussions with staffers, but they've got to get to the bottom of this, and they and indeed others in Congress have now got to take his story, piece it together with what we're being told by people like David Grush and Lou Elizondo, who you mentioned, and really say what the big picture is here.
Yeah, tell me more about this. The emotional high point, as you're referring to, he says he was possessed by some kind of energy. And, News Nation's Ross Coulthard even asks him in that moment, did you have a mental break on the job? Did this account make you dismiss, make you question the credibility of his report? Or is this something that you have heard before in your research?
No, I've absolutely seen this emotional response that witnesses have when they're up close and personal to something like this. Now, we don't know whether this comes from the individuals themselves or whether it's an external stimulus. But again, it's an area that needs further research. And of course, tomorrow we have the perfect opportunity. I mean, the timing here is no accident. This is a gauntlet that's been thrown down. I think I've even heard that phrase used. And President Trump has said on day one, we will get a report on the drones, also JFK, RFK, and other matters of public interest. Now, was he hinting at UFOs? I don't know, but I hope so.
Do you have a message for President-elect Trump tonight?
Yeah, give us the goods. We can take it.
Nick Pope, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Go to join.
Interesting times about what they've got going on. I'm along with Nick, because if we go ahead, let me see if I was just going ahead and bringing up my bookmarks where I have a copy of the video. I think I've got a looping video that I can bring down of that. Give me 1 second to go ahead and share this with everybody. You can get there. There we go. Open an external application. Let's go ahead and bring this up so we can have it looping in the background as we talk about it. All right. Got the video there. Cropped. All that.
Hey guys, is this how this works? I want to talk about
Mike. Just do me a favor. Mute your mic, and when you and then when you'll raise your hand when you want to talk about stuff, and then I will call on you.
Affirmative.
Awesome. Sorry if I didn't explain it up front. All right. Sorry, I was just going ahead and trying to get this particular video here. Let me turn off the scan lines, what we got going on this. All right. So now I've got the video up. Sorry about the delay. Now, first of all, helicopter sound added in post. It's not a real helicopter sound. Second, let me go ahead and get this up here to turn on loop. All right, we got that up, and sorry, turn that off. Some other things that we've seen. check out the movement on how stiff, I guess this is the cable going down is potentially. Maybe this is the arm and then there's a cable going down to it. But this particular piece of the video with everything going down, it's very static, meaning you're not seeing any movement. You're seeing movement going on in the egg down below. I guess this could be the arm, and then potentially at the end of the arm, it could be laying it down. Now, here we go. We're going to see potentially as this moves off to the left a little bit, we're going to see a little bit more lines going along it. It's hard to tell. You know, it's blurry. It's been recorded from one screen, taking a picture of another screen. And then as we're watching it, there's an almost, it looks like an intentional blurring going on of the actual background itself, to where we're getting some detail coming in. The image shifts around a little bit perfectly, and then it'll go out of focus intermittently. So it's a lot of things to look at. Wes Decker, you have your hand up.
Just a comment on that. That blurring that you see with the background, I don't know this for sure, but I've seen that happen before when the compression of the frames, you know, they'll have, I don't want to bore everybody with the details, but depending on how this video was compressed, that could just be a compression artifact. It may not be them intentionally blurring anything.
Right. It could just be coming from it. So either way, it's no other way to look at it is we've got another blur video gate here to go ahead and take a look at. And there's been a lot of people looking at, let me take a look at what we've got here. Oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, my friend.
I was just going to say, before we dive into the video, I'm just curious if, to me, one of the things that I found the most, important takeaway was less about the video, but more, I mean, there's all of the stuff about the psionics, everything is amazing, but I really hope that one of the takeaways that we can all come away with is collective outrage that people who are risking their lives for our country, you know, in whatever way, I mean, they're, you know, if it's as a contractor or as a soldier, if their lives are being put at risk to keep this secret, I have a real problem with that. And I know that there's historically that's been going on, but I think that's one of the themes that I got from this story, is that seems like that was going on, and that these guys, you know, their health was put at risk, and their lives may have even been put at risk intentionally. And that's just not the kind of, I mean, I know that this is a complex issue and I'm hopelessly naive about certain things, but we got to do better. And we've got to do better by the people we're asking to do these kind of hard things for us. I mean, we're asking these people to put everything on the line for us, and they shouldn't have to fear their own government or our companies coming after their lives.
Right.
You know, that's just not okay with me. So
now,
anyway, I just wanted to get that out.
A couple things. There were some suggestions that potentially we could be looking at a daytime video that was just colorized to green. Also, if Jake himself was, if you want to call it a minimum of 100 or a maximum of 100 minimum, he was at least 150 feet away from this object at all times. He lost all of his hair. Apparently, he got radiation sickness. The skin was falling off of his arms. And unfortunately, we don't have any records of that. We have no pictures. We have no photographs of this kind of stuff going on. But I would say, more importantly, if he got that from being 150 feet away from it, that sling on that egg, that's a sling there, and there's the other part of the sling. That doesn't magically just appear, and it's not like they're playing a crane game at the carnival or the arcade where you're putting down the claw and trying capturing it. This is literally something that they're securing around and with that kind of a sling, which means you would actually have to put it down. You would have to roll the object potentially on it. You'd have to go ahead and secure it, and then you can lift it up, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
well,
it's just,
and I think, didn't they say in the report that members of his team had similar health problems. So perhaps they were the ones on the ground doing that part of the operation.
Right. But we've heard mention of the other team members, but no other team members yet have come forward, or have they?
I don't know if his team has come forward. I just know that there were people who came forward to vouch for him, but I don't know if that's related.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like, if we could, Mike Berry, you want to put your hand up if you haven't, go ahead.
Yeah, hey Tom.
Good to meet you.
What's up? First off, great show. I would like to say a couple words about the aliens being telepathic.
Right.
I was in a most serene state of sleep, and I heard the word human.
Mm-hmm.
It was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life, along with what the crazy guy with the eyes, the bald guy with the eyes said. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Jake, the pilot, yeah.
That is real, because I have never felt such eerie, horrible feelings of dread in my entire life.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the best place. I was in the most serene sleep. You're going to fall asleep. You're going to go. Everything's going to be all right. And I heard the word human.
Okay.
And that's pretty weird. I also want to say, my pops used to be a ham radio operator at the highest level. And he spoke about radio chatter. And, you know, the way our minds work, the same as radios. The frequencies, they get to us. I don't want to get too crazy.
I got you, but yeah.
Dementia, Alzheimer's, and all that shit, it was given to us. Like, something doesn't want us to talk. Something doesn't want us to remember.
Oh, I think it's more of things we've exposed ourselves to throughout the years, and we've been poisoning ourselves knowingly, or at least knowingly from the corporate standpoint, or unknowingly from the general population. And when the truth comes out of that, it should be really obvious. They're still trying to figure it out. But thanks for your questions, Mike. I appreciate that.
Keep hope alive, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, getting back into this, as we were just talking a second ago. Now getting a little bit more in depth into Jake Barber, some information about him. The people were wondering what was going on, what was up with his qualifications. This is some information that was from the Good Trouble show. Some information that they were passed on to him about him. So combat control was his gateway. He was pre-selected as a teenager and given a 10-year contract into CCT graduate selection. Went through the training in the pipeline and then was rerouted to cover my job as an airline or airplane mechanic, then assigned to Pope Air Force Base. Rick Doty, get your hands up, my friend.
Yes, there's been a lot more posted about this. A combat controller, it's about 2 years of training. He apparently flunked out of the combat control course during phase 1,
right? And
then was rerouted to a different training within the Air Force,
right?
And they put him in a maintenance career field. Now this came out on X with his boss,
right?
Air Force Master Sergeant, that posted that he never made it through the combat control course. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Right. Now they're saying, I mean, there were people who have been saying that a lot of his positions and his titles was cover for the position he was going for. What is your reading on that, Rick?
Well, Greenwald got his military records, and
right.
Ironically, he's had them for about 6 months. And if you look at the records, I'd served. Anybody has a DD Form 214 can get your own and read it. You know how to read those things. Um, that's his record of military service. Also, the Form 9, which shows duty assignments, doesn't show any assignments. There, you got it right there. He was out of Pope Air Force Base. You can see over here the number of years he was in. Now, if you want to say that this is just a cover, I've never seen one like this before. I've never seen anyone with a cover DD Form 214. You get one; it's certified. It's in the National Military Database at St. Louis, the Military Personnel Records Center,
right?
And you can request it. You get all the records redacted. I mean, a lot of stuff is redacted out of it, but I question that allegation that this is just a cover. Okay, what other proof does he have that he did something? If there's some cover, there would have to be some other record someplace, or you can make up. I mean, maybe he just made it up that he did what he did. But I have some serious questions about not necessarily the video, although I think there's a number of people that has discredited that video for a number of reasons, including there's no downdraft. I was in the Air Force. I was in a career field. I flew on helicopters. You got downdraft from the helicopter wings, okay?
Right. No, from the rotors, right? Yeah.
From the rotors. UH-1N, which is a single, it's a smaller helicopter used in Vietnam. N model, it has a little jet engine on it. That's what the Air Force uses. An H-3, an H-53, a 47 or a 40, a 46 or 47, they all have downdrafts. Number one, the downdraft affects the boom or the sling. And also you would see the downdraft down on the ground and you don't see any of it. Now, there's two pilots, helicopter pilots that posted on Twitter or X that they think this was created in a studio because they've flown helicopters and this doesn't appear like anything a helicopter would be dealt with.
Right.
So I'm just saying what other people have said.
I got you. I mean, I've got a higher
resolution. I can't talk. I can't talk about what happened there because I wasn't there. So, but I'm just relating what other people have said.
But some of the stuff that I pointed out the other day when we first saw it is the lighting coming from the shadow. It's a rather deep shadow. I guess that would make the lights lower on the ground shooting at it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's coming from the left. Are we seeing, yep, when the actual, move that along, back up again, let's move it back down. I just want to see if all the time that it's down, are we seeing the shadow projected correctly? And ouch, that was loud. Yeah, so this side of the object itself is getting blown out by the lighting that's potentially there. No shadow or anything being cast from any of the lines. You should expect to see maybe something going along with it. And also, like you had said, Rick, there's absolutely no material whatsoever moving on the ground. If it was grass, you would see some kind of movement. If it was dirt, you'd see some kind of movement things going on potentially. I guess, but this really doesn't have the appearance like it would be for what do you call it? For even AstroTurf or a parking lot.
Right. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
If it was a dirt surface, it would be dust kicked up. If it was a grassy surface. Now, somebody, I don't know who it was, posted something on Twitter yesterday or last night that gave some coordinates. And if you go to those coordinates, that is Dugway Proving Ground.
Okay.
But it's a parking lot. And if this occurred in a parking lot, that be a lot of questions. I'll have to find that. I can find that those coordinates and give them to you here in a little bit. But,
well, it wouldn't be hard though. It wouldn't be that hard to go ahead and pull together bring up a map and find out where there's a parking lot within that particular site and get the GPS coordinates from it. No,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't know. I don't know his screen name, but he said that this was at Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, and it was being transported from a recovery site to a hangar. This is just his posting. And then he gave a coordinate, and I checked that. It's a parking lot. It is Dugway Proving Grounds. It is on Dugway, but he gave a parking lot. So I don't know what that means though.
I guess that would be potentially where they're going and dropping it, but it would have to be a part of the parking lot if it was completely unpaved without any lines or anything. Which again, based on the heavy tech,
it just doesn't look like a parking lot.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know, some other people were going ahead and pointing out the right side of the what do you call it? Of the sling, that it wasn't actually blown out the way that you're actually seeing it, where it's actually going across like that in a stepped manner. That there may have been something identifiable on the actual sling itself, and that was again taken out in post-production. So again, it's just taking out, looking at the things of what we're looking at and just trying to be honest on some of this stuff, because it's different. We had it coming in initially to where, again, like I said earlier, we had hype coming from News Nation that showed different footage than what was there in the roll up to it. When we got to it, they're talking about the egg and then they're showing it, but they never came out and they never talked about it. I'll say it again. They didn't go ahead and disclose that this came from another source. More importantly, that source was Dr. Greer. Now, whether or not that's actually a statement of truth, but it's something we're going to have to dig into. Now, we do have a couple people in the back with their hands up. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing I noticed, Thomas, on that DD-214, I was in the military as well for quite some time. If you look in the top corner, it shows his rank. Mm-hmm. And his rank shows he's an E4, which is a specialist. So there's no way he was a pilot. He wasn't even a non-commissioned officer. He was like I was in the Army, that'd be a specialist. Air Force, that's like an airman class. It's lower ranking.
This one here, yeah.
So there's red flag there. See right there, yeah.
Senior airman. It says senior airman in Air Force.
Yeah, pay grade E4. Yeah, senior airman E4. It's the ranking on the E status is the same on all the military. Helicopters. I did air assault missions all the time. Sling loads. Yeah, I'm looking at that sling load operation, and I can call out some things, but who's to say? You really can't see brush. But the biggest thing is if he's filming a screen off of a screen inside a helicopter. Anybody who's been in a military helicopter knows they're loud as heck. I mean, you can't hear nothing. Unless you got your headset on, you're not talking to nobody in those things. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And if you are trying to talk, you're screaming your lungs out to talk to your guy next to you. That's the things I saw that I want to point out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways we have to go look at this stuff and try and figure out what are we dealing with here. Because on one hand, we've got a story that's been in the works for 2 years. On the second hand, there are just seem to be some obvious holes that are out there that are should have been answered up front in the interviews. It seems a lot of the, I hate to say it, the trust me bro syndrome that we're dealing with. Not that I want it to be. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Now bringing up another video coming to us from Pro Pixel Analysis over on Twitter. Pro Pixel Video Analysis and Research, one of the posts you put out today. I think this is the account that both Rick and potentially Wes were talking about an observation here. Changing an observation, the egg is actually light, not heavy. Thanks to the comments section, I looked more into the kinetic chain from the egg to the helorotor to understand why the line goes to slack instantly. Thank you to everyone who pointed this out to me. I'm definitely learning a lot as we go through this together. And of course, the source of the video is coming from News Nation. So you can see in this video, if I pause it for a sec, we're looking closely for the audio here, a top-down view of the chain coming down to the egg at this point, and we can see it as it's moving along. And more importantly, as we're looking at it, as the actual egg comes down and starts rolling on the ground. So we've got some heavy-duty analysis, and I believe, West, this is the same guy who was looking at your video, your images as well, right?
Yeah, he was kind enough to take a look at the raw files and run them through whatever process he does. I think he's, from what I can tell, he seems to be genuinely curious and trying to apply his skills to help uncover stuff. So,
well, a lot of times when you're going ahead and dealing with any kind of a photograph, West, and you're bringing up you're going ahead and trying to analyze it, you can easily see, throwing it through some filtering software, if it's an object that's been copied and pasted into it, if the dithering pattern, if the compression patterns match. And a lot of times it becomes very relatively straightforward to identify if something's a fake or not.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I was glad to know that I didn't fake it. I was worried about myself. So
hear
him tell me I didn't was good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Mike, do you have a comment on the egg? Mike Berry? Once?
Mike Berry, right here.
Do you have a comment on the egg, my friend?
Yeah, I do. If there are giant space chickens out there, I want to know about them.
Yeah, I got you, my friend. It's one of those things you have to take a look at and just trying to figure out what we're actually trying to figure out. Yes, did it come from a giant space chicken? Who knows?
And also, I do have to, mention we have a radio station, upper ionosphere testing facility in New Mexico, approximately in Moriarty. And it's listed as one of the best places to talk to aliens.
Really?
This is not an advertisement. You can look that shit up. But as I mentioned before, my pops was an amateur radio operator, and he built all of these antennas. And the radio chatter that we would pick up
worldwide. With a ham radio, you're not talking in your neighborhood. With a ham radio, you're talking around the world.
Hey, K9ZVE Victor Edward, man, at your service, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
We have heard a lot of weird chatter. A lot of weird chatter.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads me to believe that, we are definitely not alone. Also, though, we've heard there was a weird author back in the day,
right?
Ruth Norman.
Gotcha.
They wrote Tesla Speaks.
Gotcha. Last comment. Gotcha.
And there are some stories about otherworldly beings trying to contact us and make peace with us and tell us that there's nothing to be afraid of. They're actually our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's the last thing I got to say about that. Tesla, the whole thing.
Gotcha, my friend.
Tom.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
By the way, can't thank you enough, man. This show is so badass, man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So, well, I guess, it looks like if I can go ahead and get this video up here, I got it. Open an external application. This is a little clip coming out of the broadcast from Saturday that we covered here in Disclosure Tonight. Let me go ahead and get this up here. And where is this? There we go. Get this back. Show it again. Here we go. No comment on.
In August of 2024, Jake and the Skywatcher team conducted their own operation with a psionic asset to see if they could summon a UAP themselves.
Look, there's two. Look at this. Look at this. Look right here. Look at this one going down and this one going up.
This footage from another Skywatcher operation showing the team's protocols. The team hoped to quietly gather evidence for Skywatcher, but instead found
hold on. They are using an off-the-shelf. I actually have this app, and I may have the headband. They're using a commercial off-the-shelf headband that looks at their alpha, theta, and beta waves, and I can't read the one that's on the top, that allows them to go ahead and actually see what's going on in your brain at the time that he's actually going ahead and doing the observance. If we go ahead and take a look right there, I know it's kind of dark, but there is... Oh, let me fix this for the audience here. Where is that at? Let me do a filters, color correction, turn this on. Okay. You should now be able to see the top of this guy's head. There's this little orange light that's going with a circle on it. You know, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what is the band that you're potentially using that allow us to figure out which technology they're using to monitor the brain waves of the individual. So it should be pretty good because it looks like they're definitely using off-the-shelf technology. Let me continue.
From another Skywatcher operation showing the team's protocols. The team hoped to quietly gather evidence for Skywatcher, but instead found themselves in danger once more. And Jake says a UAP dogfight erupted in the sky above them. He believes the craft summoned by the team was warring with a rogue UAP piloted by an unknown entity attempting to intercept Skywatcher's operation.
Tell me what happened. So we set out to do this operation. Right away when the psionic asset went into meditation, he is reporting that he is engaged and in fact piloting a craft and is bringing it in.
So he's actually telepathically controlling alien technology?
Yes. Yes. As crazy as that sounds, that's exactly what we set out to do, what he reported we would do. And then things got a little weird.
Things got a little weird. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's one of those things where you go ahead and take a look at the situation. You start getting into psionics. You start getting into talking about the additional ways with the contact protocol. From what it sounds like from people as they have been discussing on X, that they believe that they're not following Stephen Greer's CE5 protocol, but they're actually go ahead and following the gateway protocol, the gateway process that was put together by oh god, I forget the name, on the East Coast.
Robert Monroe.
Thank you, Monroe Institute. Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute. Thank you, Wes. But if we can, Alan Levine, you have your hand up, my friend.
Hi, Thomas. Just had to join you because I was listening to the conversation and I heard a lot of talk about Jake's DD-214. Let me just share some background on this. Jake, more than a year and a half ago, was already vetted by the intelligence community inspector general before he ever spoke to the Senate Intelligence Select Committee and the Armed Services Committee. He's totally legit. He was a pilot. There's no question about his provenance in any of his documents. That's one thing. The other question, and I've addressed this on a number of sites about the prop wash, that soil below the UAP is caliche. We used to have that in Arizona as well. It's pretty much like cement. It's a type of desert soil that's very dry and very hard. And it's similar to the salt beds at Area 51 where they do all the testing. So it's not going to show any kick up. You're 150 feet in the air. It's just not going to show anything. Now, also, you also have to remember that this is a video from a cell phone of a screen that was taken after the event. So you're not looking at the actual main video. So there's going to be some degradation.
Right. And from the sounds of it, Alan, this is actually from a different recovery, not the recovery that Jake was involved in.
Yeah, I'm just sharing but regarding the why there's no prop wash and stuff, and why you can't see the detail. Now, the other thing he mentioned, Jake and the other members didn't get sick in the recovery of the egg. They had what's called a mystery box, which was just an item they were told to recover and bring back, and they all got sick shortly after. One of the guys, I don't recall his name, he was on the documentary and supporting that he knew Jake, the guy with the beard and dark hair. He was one of the other members on that trip that also got sick. Dr. Gary Nolan, who's a good friend of Richard's, he did look over all their medical records. They were brought to him by the CIA, amongst others, and he's seen all the photographs, and the records are protected by HIPAA. And they're not subject to, release for television viewing and stuff.
But if he wanted to release information or photos that he had of the burns on his arms or different things that went on, it would be up to him if he would want to go ahead and release that out to the public.
He doesn't even have them. The CIA has them, and just like Burroughs couldn't get his.
So, I mean, even if he took his own pictures of the burns himself, they were confiscated by the CIA.
Yeah, they've got everything to do with with that particular case. Now, whether or not what they were bringing back had anything to do with alien technology, was that, and he admits this, was solely speculation on his part. For all he knows, he could have been bringing back a leaking vial of plutonium, which I suspect, because I believe that pickup was in Africa, there's more likely it was radioactive material. But as he shared, generally, if they were going to do a pickup of something that was hazardous, they would have been given, a heads up that this could be hazardous. But it's possible that, they felt, that whoever directed them to do it felt that the item was secured and wasn't going to leak or whatever, that it wasn't hazardous in its containment, but apparently it was.
If we can, I have a comment from Dr. Gary Nolan queued up if you'd like to hear it, talking about this.
Sure.
It's just a short 1-minute clip. Let's go ahead and play it, then we can reflect on it. Here we go.
A lot of time with Jake and members of his team, the others who we talking about tonight. They are both professional, extremely well-versed in the subject matter that they're talking about, and believe, as much as did Lou Elizondo and David Grush, that whatever it is that is being observed needs to be talked about openly, and that they're going to talk about some of the things that they were involved with that are parts of the stories you've heard for the last 40 or 50 years. So I'm excited about it. I hope people respect what Jake is doing and the chance that he's taking for not just himself and the family, but let's see how it goes. But I've seen a preview of what it is that the News Nation is going to be about, and I've seen a Skywatcher video that's going to be coming out after that, and I think people are going to be very pleased.
Oh wow! I had no idea that a Skywatcher video is coming out. Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what people missed in the documentary, and maybe they they missed it in between, got up between commercials or whatever. But what Skywatcher intends to do from this point on, because they do have what they refer to as psionics, within their group, their intention is to actually do what they did in the field, is bring one of these crafts in and bring it down for public viewing. That's the goal, is to do this privately within the general public, and so it won't be classified. That's the idea going forward, and that's basically the mission that they've been funded to do out of the Select Intelligence Committee. So that's what he was sharing at the end of the documentary.
If it's for the Select Intelligence Committee, why would they go ahead and fund it for public research? If they find stuff, don't they have the ability to go ahead and say, hey, we want to let this out or we don't want to let this out?
Yes, they do. So, it hasn't happened yet. They could change their mind at any moment, but right now, it's been, it's funded by them. That's what he was hired to do with this team. And for those of you who may think this was like out of left field with the psionics, I know that term is kind of loaded. Back in the day when I was wearing an APRO, we just called it telepathy. It was telepathic communication. And I wouldn't confuse this with like CE5. My impression is what they're doing is telepathically, basically taking over control of the ship.
Right.
It's DARPA has been experimenting since the 1990s with telepathic control, the use of brain waves to control jet fighters, and they have done this successfully. In fact, as I shared in a text with you, I don't know you saw it, but you can even get commercial drones that use brain waves to control them. You can get that on Amazon. So my impression of how this works is that the telepath actually is hacking into the craft's control systems and forcefully bringing it down. It's not, hey, I want to be friends, please land. It's not that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as woo as people think. And also, if we go back to the 70s when I was, actively involved in investigating these things, this is at the same time that Hal Puthoff was down here south of where I am at Stanford, doing the Stargate research programs and remote viewing and stuff. And this wasn't considered woo at the time. This was highly credited academics experimenting and researching telepathy and what human beings are possible to do. So it's just the word psionics, that's so sci-fi and it's kind of loaded and sounds very woo-like, but that's not the how I look at it. Basically, this is something is actually scientific and can be laboratory tested, has been used in experiments, and Hal could definitely share more about it than I could because he conducted the experiments. But it's not that woo-woo. Now, Gary also witnessed them bring down one of these craft. And again, you can go back to the documentary. A lot of people miss that. Gary was present when those two craft had these, sky battle and then ejected a different egg, not the same egg that you see on the footage, but another egg. And he witnessed that. So it's not like nobody saw this or this is something that Jake is just sharing. It's the same accusations that Grush got, like he was some Lone Ranger and he's just telling something, off the cuff. No, there are witnesses to that. And Gary, who's incredibly, a very credible, eyewitness, a scientist himself, actually saw them bring one of these craft down and eject the pod. Now, they didn't go into detail what happened after that, if they recovered that egg or what. But Gary has been out there in the field. He has been to what they call the range with Pasoka, the gal that was on all the other podcasts before, and recovered debris. And he talks about that on a number of other podcasts. And he actually brought some back with him. He was concerned that he would be stopped at some checkpoints, but he was able to bring some back for research.
Right.
So this isn't all, this isn't up, in my opinion, it's not up for debate.
Right.
This was cleared up almost 2
So
years ago.
did he get privilege and review from Dopster for his release in his interview?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we haven't seen documentation on that yet stating that.
It's not all of parts of it. There's parts that he can just say because it wasn't government involved. And there are parts that he needed government release to share. So it's a mix.
But if you're doing contracting as a contractor from the federal government, you're still subject to national
wasn't doing
security
contracting
protocols.
from the federal government. He was doing contract from a private contract.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter. You're a private contractor doing work for the federal government. That contractor and all their employees are going to be subject to the same classification requirements, and which would be something along Title 10 and Title 50.
He was what's referred to as a NOC, which is non-official, cover. I've worked for private contractors on, I guess you would, I would call it, shouldn't be shared with the public, but, it's engineering stuff. But I wouldn't need Dobster to release that. I could just show it to anybody I wanted. It's intellectual property. So not all of what he did is classified.
Honestly, anything he would have to do with the operation of that vehicle for the purpose that was going on should be absolutely classified. If you could, we got Rick on here. Rick, wouldn't this stuff be classified for the retrieval missions being under Title 10 and Title 50 authorities?
Yeah, if he's working for a contractor that is contracted to DARPA, and it's in every one of these type of operations, it would be an SAP or an SCI operation. Everyone involved, including contractor personnel, would, number one, have to have a security clearance, and there would be some sort of a limitation on what information that could be released during the operation. So there's a lot of things being said here that has been, I have a lot of contacts within the government, and some of this stuff is just not right. I'm not going to go into any great details, but why would anyone release a DD-214 and then say it's not his, or it's been altered? Green Street and others have gone through the Military Record Center in St. Louis, and they got his records, all of his records. It doesn't show that he ever had pilot training. And you can go online and check a person and determine whether they're a pilot, whether it's military, or you can go online. Anybody can do this. There's no record of him having any kind of FAA certification for an aircraft. So I'm just saying that. And other people have done this, and it's been posted on Twitter, all over. You just go to space and see the stuff that's been posted on there. And then the fact that, once the DD Form 214 is out there, and then it shows him AFSC is Air Force Specialty Code, then he comes out and says he went to Combat Control School at Pope Air Force Base. Actually, it starts out at Lackland Air Force Base in a personal assessment course, phase 1, and then it goes on to Pope Air Force Base. But his supervisor said he was eliminated from the course, and then he was placed in another career field. So all these things are out there. People, I guess, are just ignoring it. But I read and I listen, unless everything out there is faulty, which I don't think so.
What are the challenges with the whole Black Ops operations? And why this is coming to fruition today is because of the illegality that many of these things are being acted upon. They're not doing the records. They're not doing the crossing the I's and dotting the T's and stuff. These recoveries are being done illegally by these companies, which is why the Grush turned over all his investigation to the Inspector General's office for the intelligence community, because these private corporations are acting illegally. They're not keeping the records. They're not reporting to the federal government. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, there's absolutely no doubt that he is a pilot and who he says he is. Again, he was vetted by the Inspector General's office. He has already testified before the Select Intelligence Committee. as of both houses, as well as the Armed Services Committee, almost 2 years ago. There is absolutely no doubt about his credibility, what he did, where he did it, etc. Not all the things he did came under Dobster because they were illegal. That's why he's a whistleblower. A whistleblower is bringing forth felony accusations, money laundering, corruption, etc., within the government. Okay, that's why this thing is a big deal, and I've shared this with you, Thomas, for a long time now. The Inspector General's office is looking into this because of the illegalities, because money has been laundered, because there have been felonies committed. Yes, their lives were threatened. Many people's lives were threatened. That doesn't come under Dobster, okay? These things were done illegally. That's why you don't have the records that you expect to see or things, because it wasn't done on the up and up. It was done illegally. So that's why you don't have the paper trail that you should have, that you would have if this was done legally.
Interesting, interesting way to look at it, Alan. Absolutely. Rick, anything from you on that? No.
Well, yeah, I can understand black ops because I work black ops myself, and there are things that are hidden, but eventually that stuff that's hidden, at least government-wise. If the government's running a black ops operation, there's always records. Now, if a civilian company, I know that Lockheed Martin has a recovery program, but that's in association with the United States Air Force, in that they share, and they actually go out with the SDAR team to recover these type of these operations. But yeah, black ops, they do hide things, especially years ago when Blackwater was involved. Blackout Waters was supposed to they conduct these operations, and they were supposed to give a report to the military, and they never did, and that's why Blackwater lost their contract, and that's why the company was sued. But if he's a pilot, he can prove it. He can show it. Number one, I testified in front of the DODIG twice, and it's documented in January 2022 and again in September 2022. And they're pretty thorough. I mean, they go through, they get your records, and they, in fact, there are a number of people right now that are in the whistleblower program that the DODIG is asking them to take polygraph examinations. Now, I don't know if Barker is involved in that or not, but
yes, he is.
There are some people. Our advanced working group are sponsoring, as you well know, Thomas, you and Mike, that have already taken polygraph examinations, and so they're listed as what they call as A1 sources or trusted sources. Now, as you know, Thomas, we're intimately involved with the Senate in this program.
Correct.
Senate
Yes.
Select Committee of Intelligence. We've dealt with them over and over again. We can pass a name through to them, to the staffers, if somebody claims to have already been through that process. We did this a couple of weeks ago with Barker. We haven't got a response back yet. So once we get a response back, then we know, at least our group knows, that if this guy is in fact was vetted by the intelligence of the Senate. And again, we're only dealing with the Senate. I'm not talking about the House. We don't deal with the House. We deal with the Senate. If it comes back that he has been, then so be it. But when people come out, here's the problem with people like this that comes out. I want to believe him so bad because there's a lot of things that he says is factual, especially as Psionics, because I worked for Dr. Putoff for 12 years, and I know what he did, and I know what the DIA did, and I know what contracts we had with the DIA to push this stuff. But if this paperwork is submitted, somebody's leaking his DD form 214 and other things, and saying he was a pilot and he went to pilot training here and there. Well, that can be proven. I mean, almost anything can be proven, and nobody's found that yet. So if this is out there, I'd love to see it, as others will eventually, and to prove his case, because I really would like to prove that he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
You will get confirmation, I would say, before the end of February. You haven't seen the last of Jake or the other members of his team and other members associated with this. This is just, you have to remember, you're looking at a 40 minutes out of hours and hours of interview tape. I think his on-screen time was not even 10 minutes. He is who he says he is. He did what he said he did. Some of the things he did were illegal. They were done without the permission of the federal government. They were done basically as mercenaries. So you're not going to have the same paper trail that you would have. And when I say black ops, I don't mean a government black op operation. Maybe it'd be better to say a pirate operation.
Right.
You know.
But I would say, no, this has been withheld from Congress. But the executive branch has a full aware and understanding of what's going on. It's not like they don't know.
Yeah, well,
it's run out of the executive branch, for that matter.
This is the challenge, and why, you know, I've shared so many times. You don't steal from Congress. It's like stealing from the mob, and that's what's been going on for years and years now. Money has been taken for one purpose and used for another. And when given to some of these private contractors, they've taken and used it for even other things. So they're hell-bent for blood. They want this straightened out. But yes, there's a lot of this stuff that was done that was off the books. But you will hear back from the Senate, and this will be confirmed.
Right.
I have absolutely no doubt about that.
And I can't wait to hear about it, because apparently out of any money that's allocated for any kind of crash retrieval, any kind of research, 90% of that money goes into security. So it's troubling if they're spending all that money under security and it's classified under Title 10 and Title 50. And Greer's boys can go ahead and sneak out and get footage out there that's not cleared from the Pentagon.
Well, again, if let's say you just decided, well, let's take a look at the Skywatcher situation. There would have been no reason in the past that people outside these recovery programs who had knowledge or understanding of how they were done, for them to form their group, just like Skywatch has, to bring one of these craft down and just sell it to the highest bidder. Like I said, these things were done off the books. These different companies, they're in a Cold War with the other companies, not other nations so much as other companies, to get to the heart of this technology first. So they don't want to share it with anybody. But it was done illegally. Again, that's why these are legitimate whistleblowers and not just people, that are covered under Dobster or whatever.
Right.
These are whistleblowers. They're coming forward and saying this was done illegally. The money was stolen. People acted outside their, sworn duty in the Pentagon, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So you're not going to have the paper trail that you would have in a legitimate operation. Rick is correct. If this was a government black ops, secret compartmentalized situation, at some point, although it'd be much more difficult to get that information up and out, it's there somewhere. This is not that. This is a private company going rogue, doing something they're not supposed to do with money they stole from Congress. Okay, that's what this is all about, and that's why both the Senate and the House are so upset and have been upset. That's why Schumer wrote that bill that he wrote to send a message to these private companies. We know where you are. We know what you did. We want our money back.
Reportedly, that bill was written by Carl Nell, not Schumer.
No, but Schumer was read in by Grush's 40. No, I should say read in. Schumer was there when all of Grush's 40 whistleblowers testified. Okay, so he knows all about what happened, the money that was stolen, where it went, how it was used, and they want it back. So I'm not saying that none of those guys that said sit down and write these things out themselves. They give it to a staffer or somebody else in the know. Here, write this up based on this information, and then they go after it.
Yeah.
As I've shared before, and I've shared the statutes, the federal government doesn't need a new law to go in and grab radioactive materials.
No, they already have that.
They already have that. And so if one of these private contractors have what they consider, loosely speaking, radioactive or harmful material, doesn't even have to be radioactive, harmful materials, they can just go in and get it. But they want to send a message, turn it over now, don't make us come and get you.
Yeah.
So that's what that bill was about. But everybody knows they could kick down the door tonight if they wanted to. So there is more to come. This was the first volley. You've got two things here. You've got an actual news story, but also you have to realize News Nation is putting out a documentary. There's an entertainment component here, guys. Okay, this is not a legal hearing. Jake wasn't doing a legal briefing.
No.
He wasn't subject to cross-examination or anything like this. He's just doing a quick synopsis of what he did. And yeah, everybody has questions. What about the tough books and why were they there and how did they get dropped there and what's that all about? And what were the what they called the Pentagons craft? What do they look like? Where did they go? Blah blah blah. So there's a lot of questions to be asked, but that wasn't the purpose of this documentary any more than the documentary with Grush was, because no one got the impression from that documentary News Nation that Grush was also a firsthand witness to some of the evidence that was brought.
And look what happened with Grush. He came out. It was a big thing. I think Grush had a much bigger impact with all the things that he said compared to Jake. And we got a whole bunch of Grush, a lot of stuff coming into it, and it all fell flat on its face in the beginning of 2024, and he just went away.
Well, the reason he can't speak now is because they pulled his security clearance. They will not allow the House. These are people outside the House's Select Intelligence Committee. There's 21 people on that committee, but these are people like Burchett who don't have the clearance that the Intelligence Committee has. They want to get into a skiff with Grush, and they've, up to this point, now we have a new administration, up to this point, they've refused to reinstate Grush's security clearance, and they've refused to give the other House members with the UAP task force a skiff to hear Grush.
Yeah.
So those two
but even in Grush addressing the public or anything, I mean, he's just gone radio silent for all the period of time, and it's just
because he can't talk. It's just like
he can talk. Well, no, he can talk about all the stuff that was cleared under his DOPSR clearance for the first time.
He has done that. I mean, if you he did on Tucker, he did on Jesse Michaels' show, he and of course he did with Ross. So everything that he can say up to that point has been said. And I mean, he could go on other podcasts and rehash it, but it's like Lou, bless his heart. I mean, he's a great guy, but he can only say so much, and he's said it 1,000 times.
Yep.
So we've heard that story. It's the same with Grush. Right now, he's involved with that lawsuit, and they're just dying for him to say the wrong thing. Like President Trump, everyone says, well, why doesn't he say more? He couldn't. He couldn't until he got sworn in. They were just waiting. Hey, you say the wrong thing, because he had the same briefings like about the drones and other things that President Biden was getting, but he could not speak out of turn about it. Could not do it. Now that he's the president, he can declassify whatever he wants to declassify, and he can talk about it without somebody, writing up articles of impeachment. But
exactly,
Rush, until his security clearance is restored, and until they allow a skiff to be used so he can speak to the House. But I would expect that to happen within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a matter of it's a matter of booking the room
I
and
got
getting
you.
a security clearance in there and all that, but I'm sure it will happen.
Absolutely.
And Lou has things to share as well that he could share in a skiff with the House that he hasn't shared to this point. But he hasn't been allowed a skiff either. We're talking about Grush, but he hasn't been allowed a skiff to do this either.
We'll see if Lou gets that new position in the government. That'll be a great thing. If we could, though, Brian, you brought up a comment about Schumer had a chance to introduce a clean bill and he never did. I see you're in the back. Do you want to talk on this for a second?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but yes, we have talked about this for quite some time, that the Schumer Rounds Amendment that was attached to the NDAA got shot down. And then they had the colloquy between them both. So that's Republican and a Democrat on the Senate floor. Schumer could have, as the majority leader, could have reintroduced that bill. And in fact, we were expecting. I mean, this is now a year ago.
It was brought back out, but he never got out one time to speak positively about it. He bitched and complained when it was shot down the year before, but this time it was just like nothing.
He could have brought it back out in a clean bill. I don't mean to interrupt you, Alan. But
go ahead.
Rick and I have a talk about this, and Rick's been a great champion of Schumer reintroducing this as a clean bill. So anyways, that's all I got to say. I apologize, Alan.
No. I was just saying that you had a completely different atmosphere the last 6 months than you did in the run-up to the election.
Yeah, but you still had bipartisan. I mean, this was a bipartisan issue. It was a no-brainer. It was 100% winner for the Democrats. It was 100% winner for the Republicans. Schumer could have done it. It's 100% winner.
I would not fret about it going forward. You're going to see movement on this subject going forward. Things like appointing a presidential council. Biden could have done that at any time. He didn't need a bill to do that. He could have just said, I'm signing this executive order. I'm establishing this council to review the National Archives files on UFOs, and they'll decide what's released and what's not. In fact, I spoke to Danny Sheehan about this a long time back November before last, at a convention we were at, about even Lou being on that panel to declassify this information along with some other people. Danny had his own picks for that as well. And President Biden could have done that at any time. He didn't do it. There was just, that wasn't going to happen now. It's a whole new day. And
yes, correct, Alan. I agree with you on that too. And I agree with you that the Biden's people should have known that this new day is coming, and they should have preempted it. And they did not do it. They did not take advantage of that. He couldn't have been the disclosure president. And I'm not arguing Republican or Democrat. I mean, I can't wait for Trump to release this stuff. And I think that all of you here as well. I just thought that he would have had the political pressure and, hey, go out on a swan song. But no, he didn't do it. It was amazing to me.
Oh yeah, there's so much, finger pointing and stuff going around regarding the election and who should have done what, who should have done this, and there's all kinds of issues there. I mean, I know members of the community, and I totally agree with it. Even just on an intellectual level, this is, and it's such an extremely important topic. But unfortunately, people just don't get that. They really don't get that. And the general public isn't even aware of this battle. They're not even, it's not on their
Yeah,
minds.
correct. He's asleep at the wheel. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, and things will change, and it will change quickly. I've seen this evolve over literally more than 50 years, and we've never been so close as we are today. This has never been a topic that could be brought up in the way it is now. I applaud Rick for all his involvement in this, because if you would have went back, in the 80s or 90s, you couldn't have come forward like this and talk about this stuff like you are today. Not only there wasn't a platform for it, you would have got in trouble for doing it, and they had the means of doing it. Today, they cannot. The Titanic's sinking, and not all the work that they can do is going to patch up all the holes in here. It's leaking like a sieve, and it's going to come forward. Again, new sheriff in town, things are going to change, and we're going to look at a lot of things that we didn't see before, not just this, but the Kennedy files, and a lot of things are going to come forward that no one's seen before, and it's going to change quite rapidly.
Hopefully it should. Hopefully it should if we can. We've got a couple people in the back who've had their hands up for a while. They're very patient. Sergeant Daniel, go ahead first.
Yeah, how you doing? So I saw a podcast the other day in regards to the missile bases. And me personally, I think that they're keeping the secret because of the interference with the nuclear weapons. And my thoughts on it is, since you have Rick Doty there, maybe he can. There was a whistleblower that was on. There was a whistleblower that was on a podcast, and he named Rick Doty as
Mario Woods.
Yeah.
There was actually an interview of Mario here with Rick Doty back on Disclosure Tonight in the past. It should be in our catalog. But go ahead. Sergeant? We lost you.
They look like they were looking for radiation poisoning.
Okay, you were muted for a bit there, so the last 30 seconds of what you're saying we did not hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. The government shut me down. No, they were looking for radiation poisoning. It sounded like they were looking for radiation poisoning. And, there's also the psychic. I was just kind of wondering about that.
Yeah.
If you had any comments on if it's nukes that are keeping the secret, and that's why Biden's kept the secret. And that's all I have.
Yeah, Rick, I know you were part of the interview with Mario Woods. Was there any concerns about radiation poisoning or radiation sickness with him?
Well, the only thing I did in that case, I was on a temporary duty assignment, Ellsworth, and they had Mario in the OSI office there at Kirtland, along with the other guy that he'd had was in the vehicle with him. And I was to go over to the base hospital and get Mario's records, I think both of the records, and bring him back. And they did do blood tests and things on both those airmen that were in close contact with these extraterrestrials. Now, whether they were looking for radiation or what they were looking for, I don't know. But there's a lot of, as we all know, a lot of UFOs sighted over nuclear weapons storage areas, ICBM sites, places where nuclear weapons are being built. So they certainly, at least one species, has an interest in nuclear weapons.
You think he was telling the truth?
Yeah, I think. Again, I wasn't intimately involved in it. Jack Green was a case agent, along with John, another guy, and they'd polygraphed him later on, both of them, and I think they both showed no deception to the polygraph. So I would say I would believe him. If you pass the polygraph, those type of polygraphs, I would believe him.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let's go next to Ashley. Ashley, you have your hand up, my dear lady. If it's in woman.
That egg video had me cracking up earlier. The actual egg with the ruler coming down.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of questions. So one of them is, how did that guy take that video that was the pilot, the whistleblower, if he was by himself? Like, do we know how he took the video?
After the fact, it came out that it wasn't from him. And then we heard earlier today from a podcast from Stephen Greer saying that video of the egg is probably from another retrieval process and was provided by him and his team.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the other question that I had was, how did how would we vet somebody being able to telepathically pilot these drones and things? Like, how would we be able to prove that they actually are doing that?
To make sure it isn't like a situation potentially like other people have done where they've brought out and they've dropped flares, or it's been other types of things that people have been mistaken for what's going on. Well, you'd have to have really good high resolution recording equipment and recording things on multiple spectrums, electromagnetic spectrum, looking for gamma radiation, looking for gravitational waves potentially. There's a bunch of different, if you want to call it, things that we can look at for when we're trying to analyze what people are actually seeing. Does that make sense? So it would come down to making sure you have the right equipment to document whatever they're getting to come in. Because if you remember back in the 80s or 90s, there was a homeless guy down in LA who claimed he could communicate and call UFOs to come in. So this is something that people have been talking about for a long time. And so if they can do it and they have a protocol, and they can make it reproducible, and this information should all be coming out to the public, then we should have more than enough evidence to prove what they're doing is what they're saying they're doing. And until then, I'm going to stay in the center. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes, because I don't think we have enough proof show what they're doing. Because I hate to say it, I don't want to believe a person. I don't want to believe what people say. I want to look at the facts and I want to know the truth, not that I'm just going in and believing in something and giving my trust into something. Does that make sense, Ashley?
Absolutely. I was just curious if there was a way that we as observers and watching this information, if there was a way that we could, try to figure that out or discern for ourselves.
Yeah, well, Rick Doty has his hands up in response to what you were asking before. Rick, go ahead.
Well, first of all, you got to understand that we're dealing with more than one species of extraterrestrials. There's at least 5 and maybe 9 or 10 that have visited Earth. We have proof of that. It's documented. Hal Puthoff alluded to it. Kid Green has talked about it. Lou has talked about it. Many other people have talked about it. So given that we have different species that are different biologics, different technologies. Now, this is a problem I have. A human being that has no knowledge or understanding of alien technology, they're out on these sky watches, and I've been out on several of them. Okay, I've been out there, so I see them do this, or I see what they're trying to do, and now they're allegedly using psionics to communicate, take control of an extraterrestrial craft that they have no absolute any knowledge of the technology, and then bring it down. Now, I've been at several of them where they claim to have contacted them, and what I see with my night division devices that I have is that it's just either a satellite that's passing by or an aircraft. The classic example is out in Laughlin, east of Laughlin, Nevada. We were up, and I'm not going to say whose group this was, but There were a number of people there, and they were eyeing this object coming in or flying over, and I look up at it, and I get a hold of it, looked at it, and identify it, the FAA lighting system, as being a military aircraft. It was a B-52. Now, it was flying pretty low. Really, 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 really scared these people. And they were, the consensus of that group, which numbered about 15 people, give or take a few, was that it was a UFO. Well, I knew what it was, but I didn't want to say anything to embarrass anybody. So, but later on, I was asked to give my evaluation of it. When I bring up the fact that, listen, these things are, if they can come to Earth thousands of light years away, or maybe even a million light years away, they have that advanced technology. How are you, a human being, going to take over that craft with your mind and land it or crash it? Or whatever?
Rick, you know, that reminds me of the movie Firefox. When that was a plane that was from Russia that we broke in, we tried to steal, but you couldn't think and communicate with the plane in English. You had to think and communicate in Russian. So that brings up the same thing as we've got these people who are trying to go ahead and take control of a UFO, and they have no idea what a UFO really is, or how it works, or how it's controlled, etc.
Well, we do have the technology. I think Alan said it earlier. We do have the technology. It's been experimented with for many years to do something like that. A pilot within the aircraft. There's some rumors out there that the B-2 pilots are actually flying that plane with their brain rather than controls. Now, that's a rumor. It's been out there and all over the internet. Whether that can actually, I actually believe that we have the technology to do that today. But we're flying our own craft with our own avionics, pilots that are trained to do that.
Right. And don't forget, as our audience brings up, it just wasn't an aid craft, the one we have a video of. Supposedly there was the one that had the octagon on top of it that was spinning or something. And that was the one he had gotten the emotional feedback on. So, interesting. Alice W., you have your hand up. Then we'll get to Ellen.
Yeah. Hi, Tom. I'm going back to the beginning of the show a little bit with West when he showed that picture. Are we concluding that that is an egg-shaped vehicle?
No.
Because it certainly looked like an egg shape to
Not
me.
not from all angles. From one angle, it looks egg-shaped. From another angle, it looks more like a traditional saucer shape. So it's hard to tell what we're actually dealing with there.
Okay. And what year did this guy say he was doing this? What year was that pickup of the egg?
I don't know. Do we have an actual date? I don't know if we have a date on that. Good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Alan, sir, welcome back.
To answer that last question, it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
The challenge, and I completely agree with Rick, but I haven't seen this. I would love to see them, in action and do this. Gary has seen it. Now, I don't know the details, but he's seen them do it, and not just, a dot in the sky that, passed over. And I completely understand what Rick is sharing there, and that's entertainment. That's a magic show. This is not what Gary saw. Gary saw, and what's interesting too about Gary's eyewitness account is that the psionic summoned, as they put it, the one craft, a second craft appeared, and how they share it. And I have seen one video of this. The second craft got in a battle with his first craft. Now, I don't know what that would look like other than a video I saw before where these two, UAPs, one shot what looked to be a beam at the other one ran away.
Now, if they were doing that, they should be able to release footage of Dr. Gary Nolan being there, doing the observations and stuff. They should be able to go ahead and have the accounting of what their guy did that was often contacting it. And they should also be able to have all of the different observation media that they have that all tie into it. So if Gary Nolan was there and he observed it,
I completely agree. They did show, if you go back to the documentary, they did show some on-screen footage of the egg-shaped craft that the summoned craft released after the battle. But it's just like a real fast clip, and then they go to Gary, and Gary says, yeah, I saw it. And
right, which was a really blurry dot on the screen. It wasn't something. It wasn't a definitely hard thing to say, wow, that really looks like an egg. For me, it looked like a blurry dot.
That's showbiz, okay?
Yeah.
It again, this wasn't a formal, hearing where you have to show evidence.
Oh, no, I know that. I'm just saying, if they want people to believe in what's going out, release as much evidence as you possibly can. And if this is, and they're doing this stuff right now, they don't have funding from Congress, and they're putting this whole thing together, they should be able to release as much information as they want to at this point, because there's nothing holding them back.
They do have funding from Congress. They have a setup that's just like the Tedesco brothers there. They're not, and they're not accepting private donations at all. This is all money from Congress. And
do we have record of that?
Yeah. Go back to the documentary. He talks about it at the end of the documentary.
No, not I mean, proof.
No, I'm talking about that they are not accepting donations.
No, well, that's fine. That's fine. But if they have funding from Congress, it should be public, and they should be able to show, look, we've got funding from Congress. Look, we've got letters from these people in Congress. Look, we've got accepted by this committee.
And that's going to be coming.
Well, it should, in my perspective, it should already be out. It should be part of the providence that comes out when they bring this story out.
That's, I certainly don't have any control over that.
Oh, I know. I'm just,
I mean, I wish things happened, 50 years ago. They didn't.
Right.
I mean, we came very close back in the late 70s to releasing everything, and it didn't happen. Okay, so, if they get it done this time, fine. Believe me, the government doesn't move in the time that social media does. But we just swapped out, heads of state here, give them a couple of days, and
but this isn't under presidential control. This is under control of Congress. More importantly, this would have been funded in last year's Congress, not in this year's Congress, because that's when they kind of came in. If they were funded, we'll find out, but we'll have to find out who are the sponsors in the Intelligence Committee that are supporting them.
Sure. And if he made that claim illegitimately, if he got on national television and lied about that, that's going to come out really quick.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I trust Ross, and I definitely trust Gary, that they wouldn't be putting their reputations on the line if they hadn't seen what they saw or know what they know.
Right. But Gary talking about this, he's an immunologist. Any of the stuff he talks about this, it's a hobby for him. So anything he says about it, if it goes back to him.
No, it's not a hobby for him. He's worked directly with the federal government on a number of things.
Okay.
He's very prominent. I mean, he was working with the CIA, I think, for almost 3 years, under contract with them.
Oh yeah.
So he's not. This is not just a hobby for him.
Right.
He's all in on this. In fact, he's shared, numerous times that people are more interested in this than his cancer therapies.
Oh wow.
So that's in fact he was supposed to do a lecture on new cancer treatments and therapies and stuff, and just before he went out to speak, one of the people that invited him said, I hope you're going to talk about UFOs. Like I hadn't planned on doing that. He says, here to talk about cancer, but it's really become really more of an interest amongst academia because he's involved in this. and it's given it a greater legitimacy. And again, you got to give them, a little bit of time to get this stuff out. They just released Jake's information just days ago. So we went through a weekend. We're here, now the week's just begun. The president just got inaugurated today. Give them 48, 72 hours to go wrench the paperwork out of people's hands. They've had a lot going on. You got wars going on. You got this hostage situations in the Middle East. There's all kinds of hot and cold running, rumors about the financial situation, not just here, but around the globe. You've got people ready to tear the UK government down. You've got a big hullabaloo up in Canada about what's going to happen up there. I mean, it's not like this is the only thing on anybody's plate. It's the most important thing to us, but
I know.
Trust me, it's not. I wouldn't want to walk into the Oval Office tomorrow morning. Yeah. Everyone's going to be going like me.
Okay. One thing about the video, it's I don't know what to think about it. I'm getting an old VCR pause at the top.
What did anybody expect?
No. I'm just saying I'm seeing an old VCR style pause on it. So this is a recording of something that was made. We thought maybe they did on there. Let me work through this, Alan. This is a recording that they made of the thing that was from the craft. But then it's a recording of that recording that they're actually recording with the device. So, okay, I've got a phone. I've initially gone and videoed this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a device, and I'm recording what's on the screen with that device, a phone of some kind. Granted, if it's 10 years old, the technology in the phone, the videos, the CCD sensors aren't that great. That created... The first generation video is what they're seeing on the screen. The second generation is them actually recording it. The third generation is them playing back that recording on a screen that's then recorded by yet another mobile device. That's what we're looking at.
That's very possible. I think the only one who would know that other than Jake and his team would be Ross.
I'm just looking at the actual.
I'm just hearing that a News Nation. I'm sure I don't know what they were given in their hands to run on TV, or what they did with it once they got it.
Well, I'm just doing a little dissection of the video, and I haven't seen anyone talk about the pause text. So I thought I saw that when I was going through it, and it's at the very end of the video before it goes static.
Well, what I would share because a lot of people, they said they were so disappointed. That's all that, they saw that. But let's just say, and I'm very trusting in News Nation that what they have is legitimate video. What did anybody expect they were going to see? They said what you were going to see is this egg thing.
Well, they did, but it was sad. I wish they would have brought it out and set up front that this video isn't from Jake. It's not from this operation. That this video came to us from Stephen Greer. That would have been very good to put out there and not just leave it behind the drapes.
I'm not the director or producer for News Nation, so they probably don't even know the significance of the provenance that some people would have a problem with it coming from Greer.
No, just say where it comes from. Because when they're showing it, he's talking about it. Then they jump to this video showing this thing going on. If they're going to show the video, they just need to say exactly where it is from that time. Because otherwise, people are assuming, oh, wow, this must be the video. That's when I saw it. Was how in the hell is Jake going ahead and recording this if he's the pilot?
You understand that, but we're talking about a News Nation,
no, we're talking about Ross Coulthart, and he should know.
Well, Ross didn't edit the final documentary that came on TV. That was done by his producer. He didn't sit there and do the editing. I mean, even his monologue and his interviews, that's cut by the producer and the director. It's not cut by him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Blame
they
the
make
team. There we
They
go.
make the final decision. We're going to cut this. We're going to put that in. We're going to take this out. We're going to take that. And he said many times there's so much more that he would have loved to have on, you know, these Rush's interview and this interview that ended up on the cutting room floor, because you only have 40 minutes. Now there may be an extended, release later on. You'll remember when he interviewed Grush. They did a pre-interview with I forget the guy's name. He does that other show with Ross. He was a co-writer on one of Richard's books. I can't think of his name. But they did like a 3-hour pre-interview of Grush that's never seen the light of day. Ross's son it was Bryce's son who actually did the recording of that, and that's never seen the light of day. They really want to show that, but it's never been shown. But so there's a lot more out there. I'm sure that we're going to see more of what Jake had to say, what his team members have to say. Again, I doubt that the producer and director of that 1 hour segment, 40 minutes of which were live time, that they understood that it was important to speak about the provenance of the tape, because they're just going to, when they show a tape of whatever news subject, if it's a plane that crashes or a boat that sinks or whatever, they don't say supplied by so and so and so and so. They've got 10 seconds to show it. They just show it. They don't tell you where the thing came from. But it's not as controversial as showing a UFO, for heaven's sakes. If someone's showing, hey, this is a real UFO, you're going to go, like, where the hell did they get that? And who took that? And how did they get it? Blah, blah, blah. You don't care about a car accident. Somebody probably took that, put on TikTok. But yeah, I agree. They should have talked about the provenance. They did. Greer didn't even. He would love to get in there and talk about his contribution. Yeah, and he didn't. I would imagine there's probably something of his, on the cutting room floor. I can't imagine he didn't get his 15 seconds of fame in there at some point.
Gotcha, my friend. Yes.
So, but I think people just need to be patient as we go forward, and this will all ferret itself out. Again, addressing these, basically what people appeared to be holes. They're holes because what they were doing was illegal and off the books. That's why there's no record. That's why it's just, this comes up all the time. It's come up for decades with different people that come forward. Why is there a hole here? Why is there a hole there? A lot of the stuff is off the books. It's illegal.
Exactly.
They shouldn't be doing it.
If we can, Wes Decker, you had your hand up, and then as the last person, go ahead.
Oh, I'm having internet problems, so don't worry about me. Sorry.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. All right, what a great show. We've had a lot of great things. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Alan, any last words from you, my friend?
I would just share with everyone to have patience going forward. There's a lot more to come. And I think if people, just wait a little bit longer, you're going to see more is going to come out. This isn't over. Ross has shared it's not over. Gary shared it's not over. A lot of people are involved in this, and going forward, we're going to see a lot of different things. We just need to be a little more patient. I know Lou has more to share.
Oh yeah.
And they just, before now, they just couldn't. You're going to hear more from Lou. You're going to hear more from Grush. Going forward, the dam is beginning to break, and I would just share with people to exercise patience going forward.
And the way we came into this, Alan, was we looked at it and said, you know what? Don't expect anything. And if we walk away from this and we get something coming out of it, then start to get excited about it. I'm still in the middle at this point. I'm not going to say there. I want to see some more facts. You know how that goes.
The reason why there's a within the community, and you understand this, Thomas, and Mike, if he was on, he understand this too. For members of the community that have witnessed these things. For us, it's like, okay, I saw it. It's. I know this is a real thing, so you don't have to prove anything more to me. But for the majority of people, that's not enough. It's not enough that you believe that you have proof in your for yourself beyond a reasonable doubt. You want other people to recognize and validate it as well. And what is that level of validation? Is it a preponderance of the evidence or proof beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty? It's going to be different for all kinds of people. But going forward, it's more is going to come out, and it's going to pick up more speed, more steam, and more people will come on board. But like for me, I've already seen it. So to me, you don't have to prove anything more to me. I would just like to see, a reckoning for those who have done the illegal stuff, who have stolen money, who have threatened lives, and worse. I'd like to see these guys come to justice. We can't have a legitimate democracy when we have these rogues exercising their own authority.
Yes, bring them to justice and no amnesty, please.
Yes.
Absolutely. If I can, I want to go ahead and thank everybody. I want to thank Alan for coming out. And Alan, what a great show. Rick, thanks for coming out, my friend. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Great opportunity to hang out with friends. I also want to go ahead and thank some people for some wonderful super chats today and say, including Mr. Grimlock, Brian Pemble, Faze Will, Brian Pemble again, and Ashley Kennedy. I want to thank everyone for all your love and attention to what we do here in Disclosure tonight. We appreciate y'all coming out here, and I know Nick wants to say something. We'll get it in the after show. So as we usually say, I'm not feeling good. I've got a migraine coming on here, folks. So I've got to bring this to an end. As we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But almost there. Hold on.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you in the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now. Here.